How is this type of product typically brought to the mine site and installed in the tires and all that sort of stuff?
Sure, it's normally brought to the mine sites in 275 or 1,000 liter. I call them totes or IBCs. They bring them on site. There's a valve on the bottom of the tote or IBC, and it's poured into a pail and essentially walked over to the tire before it's mounted and dumped in the tire. Depending on the size of the tire, it determines the quantity of the liquid. And then once they pour the liquid in the tire, it's mounted up onto the wheel, and the O-rings put on, all the other rings are put on to keep the tire in place on the wheel itself with the rim.
So so when you're talking, I'm just picturing, because you've got a powder form, but the old way of doing it is you basically fill up these giant totes and are shipping them around, technically shipping them all over the world. Is that right? Yes. Yeah. That's exactly what's happening. And that's why our product is so much more innovative and really industry disrupting, because to ship that amount of liquid, I mean, one tote's 2,500 pounds. And mining, especially in the larger stuff, uses 30 gallons per tire. So you start adding that up in a mine site that's got 80 trucks or 100 trucks, and now you're talking they've got to get containers full of these totes shipped in. And we can talk about the cost of that, of course, but it's extraordinary. And there's really a better way to do it now, but there hasn't been for 30 years. And so I'm always curious when you see these situations where, like, your product is one of those products that it hits the market and then it's kind of like, oh, that's kind of how it should be done. Is it like, how long did it take before your product was like, has it been in development for like several years? Has there been, 20 years ago, did someone try to get it to market and it just didn't catch for whatever reason? Like how does it go 30 years with them shipping big totes all over the world for mining operations? That's probably one of the harder questions to answer. It's like you start doing something one way and you just keep doing it that way. Our industry innovates very slowly as far as tires and wheels. I mean, the other than certain structures of tires and different sizes, the wheels and tires haven't changed for 30 years. So there's really not much movement. I mean, even one of our distributors, Haltech, I mean, the valve stems are still valve stems. Yeah. They've got valve cores in them, and you air the tires up. And it really hasn't changed in actually 40 years. Yeah. So, it's really something that I don't know if it's our industry or if it's just the way things are, which is why I'm so excited about this powdered product in a water soluble bag is that we've taken the what do you call it, the market itself, kind of turned it on its end, and we've reduced weight by 94% just by going to a powdered form. The thing is, I mean, I'd say you're the person to ask about this as director of sales. Is there a resistance to, like, are people it seems like if I was a purchasing manager, I think I'd be pretty open to the discussion, because obviously as soon as 94% weight comes in, if you're reducing it, you've got my attention. Are people pretty open to it? Is this a difficult product to get? Has it been a difficult product to get into the market, or has it been pretty well received? Well, and that's one of the reasons we're on your show, is to talk about it like this, because, there's been a lot of travel in the last year and so it's been tough. I think when people see it actually work, and hopefully you're going to share some of the videos and stuff too, of course. But when they see how easy it is, though, most people that we've shown it to, was a while ago, they went, oh, that makes all the sense. But there again, our industry is slow and changing. And this product is probably less than 1% of somebody's tire budget. So it's not really on the top of the list, you might say. But it is again,
very innovative. And so I'm hoping that with what happens today with the show, and also follow up travel and different things now that we can get out and do what we need to do, things will start picking up.
Do you get a lot of, yeah, I guess that would be the thing. Do you get a lot of questions about it, or do people, I mean, I took way too long to figure out what you were doing. Way too long. It's just sometimes your mind gets locked. Maybe that's the industry's problem. Your mind gets locked into something. And I was like, oh, it's just like I did with on my Toyota. Oh, I even talked to Rory on the phone. He's like, well, it's kind of like that. I was like, yeah, no, it's good. I get it. And maybe that's part of the problem. Once you get in front of people and start having the conversation, is it, I mean, I think you have actually some videos of it being used on mine sites. Is it sort of that aha moment that they just get what you're talking about?
Yes. And in fact, one of our distributors coined a slogan a while ago that I've been using. You know, it's stop shipping water. And it just makes too much sense, right? But when until they actually use it or they see how it's used, they just don't, I guess they just don't get it.
Yeah. You know, I remember hearing, like those little pods that you put in the dishwasher now. I don't know if anybody actually uses the liquid stuff for dishwashers anymore. Maybe they do. But I remember I actually have heard discussions about which is better, the pod or the solution that you just dump in liquid. It's the same thing. It's just one's a powder with the water added to it. So I think, is that part of it? It's just that comfort level, especially if it's 1% of the budget, they just go, well, it's the same thing, but we'll just keep going with it.
Exactly. You know, I remember when I first saw the first pod for detergent, I'm like, how is this going to work?
Right.
And, when I actually used it, I was like, oh, well, that's obvious. And now I think most households use the darn stuff, right?
Yeah.
You don't spill it. It's easy to throw in. You don't put too much or too less in.
Yeah.
So, that kind of an application is the same thing for Rim Plus. And I think it makes, when you compare those two, people kind of shake their heads, go, oh, okay, I understand.
Yeah, it's nice because you actually sent the video, and it is very much like those pods, right, Maury? Like it comes in like a bag, so the installation is, again, another thing I was confused about. I was thinking it was, again, referring it back to mine. I thought you like put it into the stem or something, and which doesn't even make sense on mining tires. So the installation it's exactly the same as the other type of chemical. It's really that shipping and getting it there. But once you get it, what's the process? We'll bring the videos up, but just sort of walk us through it.
Sure. It's really no different than what we just talked about with the detergents and stuff. You grab a bag and you throw the whole bag into the tire, and either the tire has water in it before or after you throw the bags in. The number of bags determines the quantity of water you put in the tire, depending on the size of the tire, of course. And it starts immediately as soon as it hits the water, starts to dissolve. Actually, it's very quick, even in cold water.